There we go. It's 7777. A lot of times, lucky number is 777 at the casino. You hit the jackpot on the slot machines. But today's July 7th, 2026. I'm at the Poduty Live Podcast Theater. This is Poduty in the News. Your host, Jeff Revilla, with an amazing guest joining me today from the future. It's Ange Dove, the Unchained Coach, the You're the Boss podcast host. Ange, you know what time it is?
It's your future. I'm calling in from 7 o'clock in the morning in Singapore today.
What time is it? What time is it? It's time for Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
Oh, the only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Ange, welcome to the show.
Jeff, thank you so much for having me. It's wonderful to be here, calling in from Singapore. And it's 7 o'clock in the morning here, and it's a great way to start the day.
Oh, I love it. We got high energy, got the theme song,
Yeah.
getting out of your seat, dancing, got the blood flowing. That's part of, I'm a Gen Xer too. I'm a 76 baby. I just
Right.
50 in June. So I'm just on the tail end. I'm making the cut. And I went over to your website. I love the layout. I love the energy. I love the way that you're presenting this to Gen Xers. And tell us a little bit about like the Unchained Coach. Tell us a little bit about your methods and what you're thinking or how you put things together for Gen Xers.
Yeah. So I'm speaking mainly to Gen X, and it's kind of we're at the time of life where you've got more life behind you than you have possibly ahead of you. And we're looking at really making things count. And I think it's a time for Gen Xers to stand up, do what they want to do. So I'm all about just helping people to do what they want to do. And when they realize that maybe they've spent a lot of their life pleasing other people or doing things that they hadn't really planned, now it's time to really get going and make your life count. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, and I'm really feeling that in this, this last, I don't want to say it's the last act, but I feel liberated knowing that the things I've accomplished and got me to this place, I feel like I have a superpower now. As I get older, I'm in my 50s now. Like, I feel like really that the best years of my life are ahead of me. And I got a lot of that from your website, from your coaching. And I was really excited to connect with you. I think you have some great perspectives on, how can we build our brands? How can we continue developing our skills and building community as a Gen Xer into our 50s and 60s?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm all about people in transition. So helping people to tell that new story. So if you've been maybe in a career for most of your life and you want to now start a business, then I help people to make that transition or a new identity. I myself have just gone through a new identity. And that's all about personal branding and making sure that your brand stays relevant to where you are, because everything changes in life and we go through life's changes, but we also go through changes that life puts on us. That, like we've had recently, the pandemic, we've had, for me personally, it's been AI that has made my past career quite irrelevant in some cases. So it's finding, still being relevant in the new times and knowing that with all of the information and the knowledge that you've amassed over the last 50, 60 years, that's relevant and that can help people today. So it's time to shine.
I saw on your website you had a little caricature of yourself with a saxophone. Was it your previous passion? Was it making music or performing?
It's still my passion. It's just a hobby, but you can see in the background here, there's a few saxophones at the back there. The big one's a digital sax, which helps me here because the live sax is so loud in an apartment. So I use a digital sax. when I'm at home, but then under my table I have the real one as well. So
But yeah, I happened to catch that detail while I was browsing around on your website, and I said, okay, there's some history here with some music. And
I think the sax is the sexiest sound on the planet. I do.
and also the You're the Boss podcast, a little bit of the same, building off of the coaching methods and talking about what's the next step for Gen Xer? How do you develop your skills and become a better leader, a better person?
Yeah. So my podcast covers the same thing as like You're the Boss, meaning people are moving over to running their own business. So we cover really a wide range of things on there, everything to do with starting a business, from health through to like the running of a business itself, systems and things like that. So, and we have amazing guests that come on around the world and giving really good advice there as well.
Awesome. I'll have all those links in the show notes. Go over to news.poduty.com, connect with Ange. After the show, Ange gets inducted into Poduty and the crew, which is all the people who have ever been on the show. You can find everybody with all their links, all their connections, the updates, and even future episodes, because I love to have Ange back on the show. So if there's any future episodes, you'll see all those listed there over on the profile page. And it's news.poduty.com. Connect with Ange, reach out to her. All those links will also be in the show notes. Are you ready for our stories?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Story number 1, Think Deepa Live reinvents the live podcast experience through storytelling and audience participation. A new live podcast series in Manchester is reimagining what it means to attend a podcast recording. Think Deepa Live, hosted by broadcaster Deepa Parekh, combines celebrity interviews with guided reflection, journaling, breathwork, and audience participation. Actress Chelsea Healy helped launch the series by sharing her journey through fame, entrepreneurship, motherhood, and learning to embrace authenticity despite years of public criticism. Rather than simply watching a conversation, attendees became active participants, connecting the stories on stage to their own personal experiences. And this is one of those stories that I love. It's taking something that you're passionate about. In this case, this Think Deepa Live is the brand, the podcast, what they're preaching and talking about, breath work and meditation and relaxing. And they're taking that to a live environment as the expert in front of a stage, in front of an audience, and bringing on people to talk about and really share that experience. And I think this strategy is a great way to position yourself as an expert and get that live performance, scratch that itch of how can I do this live, share my expertise, and make some great new connections.
Yeah, I love that. I think, having a live audience, there's nothing better than actually riffing off live and talking to people live. And then she had that skill anyway. So it's a comfortable thing to be able to create a podcast that way. And I think one of the things as well is that anyone can do a podcast about what they're passionate about. And it's like I'm saying, in the 50s, it's the 60s, it's our time. But the technology that's around today just allows you to pick any stage you want. And I would encourage people as well that even if they're not comfortable on camera, just try it out, just get on there. I went through a stage of life where I couldn't be on camera. I was really uncomfortable. I came from the age where the camera was for Hollywood stars, right? And TV stars. So it was not something I was comfortable with, whereas my kids could get on with their mobile phone and get on camera, and they never thought twice about it. In our era, that wasn't the case. So it took me some time to get comfortable on camera. But once I became comfortable, now I have my own YouTube channel. And it's just a case of picking, with you building your personal brand, is picking a platform that's comfortable for you, that you can be in and you can do, and just try out different things. Like as she has done, she's gone with something that she's able to do, and she's found an audience. And I think that's just the way to build your brand, and just be you. Yeah,
in some cases, I'm grateful that there's not photos and video of when I was a kid. And we used to hide. Like if the camera came out, like we would hide. We didn't want to be on camera, or we didn't want to be photographed back when we were younger. But now it's a skill set that everybody
Yeah.
needs to have. It's taking those presentations you would do in the boardroom and magnifying it times 1,000 by putting that speech online, putting those slides into a presentation that thousands of people can watch it, not just 10 or 15 people within a company, but you can really reach so many people. It's so powerful to be able to get out there and put yourself out there and really see where it takes you over time.
That's a really good point, because that's one of the things I teach people is how to take the information they have, or if they've done a video, how to take that video and change it into other formats. So they're using the same material. They don't have to waste time creating new material. So just make the most of the material you have. You can create blogs from it, social media posts, all sorts of things. So, and you're right, there's never been a better time to put yourself out there, because we have so many opportunities to do it. But you're right to the point that when we were younger, it was probably best at a lot of times that there wasn't a camera around. And you've got to have a new skill set now to make sure that what you put on camera is what you want to be seen. And that's one of the things about building a brand as well, is it's an intentional process where you're creating something that you want people to see, and you're building the narrative yourself. You're not waiting for other people to build it for you.
And it's a great segue to our next story, because you mentioned the repurposing, the publishing, and how about the International Festival of Creativity? It's at Cannes Lions. The Spotify shared a new approach to brand partnerships that focuses on participation instead of traditional sponsorship. During a panel discussion, Spotify's global head of business marketing, Bridget Evans, explained that today's audience, especially Gen Z, expect brands to contribute something meaningful rather than simply placing logos on an event. Spotify highlighted examples where brands became part of the fan experience through live events, artist collaborations, and interactive activations. The message was clear: lasting loyalty comes from helping people feel connected, not simply buying attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things today is collaboration and community, and people, I think, want to feel connected. So these platforms give them a way to be connected and work together, because we're not alone in this world, and you can just go so much further if you collaborate with other people. So I think that's a fantastic environment to build your brand. And that's something I'm looking to do myself. It was just, sometimes in life you start something new and something else crops up that gives you ideas. So I just received a book in the post the other day. And I was reading through this book, and it was giving ideas for webinars. And as I was reading through, I was thinking, okay, actually, I could get my past podcast guests and collaborate with them and do a webinar with them. And it was something that I hadn't really thought about before. I kind of segmented everything into different buckets, but you can actually put them all together as well. So using the contacts you've already got often is a great way to collaborate with people and just reach a wider audience, serve more people by working together.
Yeah, and these type of experiences too, these are very immersive events, and that's something that we're seeing that the Gen Z millennial generations are craving. They want in-person contact. I think they're waking up from, hey, maybe these cell phones are addictive. Maybe I spend too much time staring at a screen. Maybe I want human connection. I want to live like those Gen Xers did, where they had to go outside and play. We
had no choice.
People are hungry for this type of connection, and these type of experiences not only connect the artists, but it connects the business with the audience too, and shows that, hey, we're real people here. We're doing real things that really impact you. And I think these type of events are a great stepping stone to probably to what we'll see more of in the future.
They are, and I think with the pandemic, that really highlighted, I think, to the world that we are social creatures and we do need that community, right?
Yeah, and a great community, a Stuff You Should Know community. This is one of podcasting's longest running and most successful shows, is headed to Vancouver for a live recording this summer. Stuff You Should Know hosts Josh Clark and Chuck Bryant will take the stage at the Queen Elizabeth Theater, bringing the same curiosity, humor, and audience interaction that have helped the podcast earn billions of downloads since its launch in 2008. Known for turning everyday questions into engaging conversation, the live show offers fans a chance to experience the chemistry between the host and person with audience participation again, ensuring that every performance is unique.
Yeah, I think, when I was a child, they used to say like everyone will have their 15 seconds of fame, right? But I think now people are taking it into their own hands, and there's a different kind of fame, if you like, today. And like in my day, if you went on tour, you were a rock band, right? Now anyone can go on tour, right? So you've got podcasters going on tour, and they've become celebrities in their own right to their own community, right? And so it gives people the power, I think, to tune into the shows that resonate with them, the topics that resonate with them, and then taking it from the screen, your podcast that used to be audio, then became video, is now becoming a live event as well that people can actually take part in. And that's an exciting thing. I don't know if I would be able to do that, but that's really exciting.
And, even though this podcast has been around since 2008, these live experiences, they can't be replicated through an MP3 file. So, yes, they're delivering an episode every week, and you can download it and listen to it in your car, your morning commute, while you're jogging or working out. But to go to a theater and to see them perform the show live, to see, how the sausage is made, they say a lot of times, like, you get to see the secrets of how they act with each other, how their facial expressions, how they interact with audience questions, how they interact in the moment, how they react. You don't get any of that from an MP3 file.
Yeah.
And this just kind of takes that experience to the next level.
It does, yes. Yeah.
And speaking of going to the next level, beam me up. We got a Star Trek story coming up from Trek Movies. We have a Star Trek community comes together for a live podcast panel at Trek Long Island. The live podcast recording of Trek Long Island demonstrated the power of serving a passionate niche audience. Trek Movies All Access Star Trek podcast hosted a live panel titled Generations of Star Trek Women, bringing together actresses from multiple eras of the franchise to discuss their experiences and evolution of the women in Star Trek. Recorded in front of a live audience during the convention, the event showed how podcasts can become a central part of fan experiences by creating conversations that extend beyond traditional panels.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with Star Trek, can you? Really? I love Star Trek. I've always watched that. And it's going to what I was saying before, is now we're sort of going into niche areas, niche markets where people have a passion for a certain show or a certain topic, and they come together, and it creates this community of people that will naturally come together because they have the same interests. And just being able to create shows and experiences around that, I just think is absolutely fascinating. And it's we've gone from having entertainment thrown at us in a way to actually today creating that entertainment for ourselves and inviting other people into the entertainment. It's a completely different vibe. And I think it's a really exciting way to go. And it's a great way as well to build a brand. You've got community that's coming together around what you're interested in. And we can build communities around that so easily today because it's never been a better time to do it. We've got the tools. They're getting better and better all the time. And if you're looking to actually create a community or do a show, I'd highly encourage anyone to do it. Like, my podcast has become the highlight of my week. I never thought that I did it just for fun at the beginning. And then it became a way that I just enjoy so much talking to people around the world. Absolutely love it. So it's just, for me, it's just the best part of my week.
You kind of touch on this micro celebrity concept where in every industry, in every niche, in every genre, there are the experts in those industries. They may not be widely known across the board, across the world, but
Yeah.
within that little target, within that little area that you're passionate about, I guarantee you there's a conference, there's events, there are live things happening that are all centered around the thing that you're passionate about. So if you can connect in and plug into those types of events, like
Yeah.
Star Trek fans, what better place to perform a Star Trek podcast at a Star Trek conference? So,
Conference.
go to where your audience is, and this is a great strategy from what they're doing here.
And then I think as well, like you look at the way things have evolved, like the last US election, when Donald Trump appeared on people's podcasts, right? It's not the news channels they're going to now, it's the podcast channels, because that's where the listeners are as well. That's where the people congregate, right?
Yeah, and if you're a chef or a cook, why not, or a baker, why not go to a cooking podcast? The Escoffer uses a live podcast to launch its expansion into Canada. Into August, the August Escoffer School of Culinary Arts marked the occasion with its first international live recording at the Ultimate Dish in Toronto. Hosted by Escoffer President Kirk Bachman and featuring Emmy-nominated chef Kristen Kish, the event brought together aspiring chefs, educators, and industry professionals to discuss career pathways and future culinary education. Rather than relying on traditional press conference, Escoffer used a live podcast to connect directly with its community while reinforcing its mission and brand.
Nice. Yeah, so I like the way, as you say, instead of you doing the traditional newswire or the traditional press release, just to be able to take your podcast and go into other markets is absolutely fantastic. I think that's such a great idea, to be able to like go international, but using your podcast as the platform. You've already got an audience that's interested. Now you're just expanding location. And that's again, it's this idea that we're not relying on the traditional media anymore. We're creating our own media. And that's just such a powerful, it's kind of like people power, right? It's such a powerful way to build your brand, run your business, expand your business into other territories as well.
This is like an open house on steroids, right? They're a culinary arts school. They put together this event to bring people in, like a show and tell. Here's our services. Here's what we do. Here's what we're building. And instead of a generic brochure that they would have mailed to you 20 years ago, now you're going into there. You're experiencing the school, the atmosphere, the how everybody works together, what the potential is. You're getting future insights. How do I build my career in the Culinary Institute? And it's just
sorry. Yeah. So and also you get people's reactions straight away as well. So it's that's something that you can use in your business because they're giving you automatic feedback. So that's something that you can build in your business to know that you're speaking to the right audience and speaking in the right way to them, because you're actually getting the feedback directly from them, which is something that was harder in the past to do.
Yeah, they're right there, right in front of you. And if they're on the fence, this will really help, maybe show somebody this is the right path for me or it's not the right path for me. And it's a great way to get that experience. And again, what is it? Another immersive event. I think there's a trend here tonight with events, immersion, and really defining who you are, defining your brand, defining your purpose, and sharing that with the public.
Yeah.
And we might as well finish sharing our last story tonight, a little comedy and culture podcast called Fear and. It's taking its show on the road with live performances at San Francisco's Golden Gate Theater in August. Hosted by Hassan Piker, Will Neff, QT Cinderella, and Austin Show, the event gives fans an opportunity to experience the podcast in person through live conversations, audience interaction, and unscripted moments that can't be replicated online. The tour continues a growing trend of successful podcasts extending their brand beyond digital platforms and creating a live experience for their communities.
So again, this goes to this idea of touring, right? So it's just opened up a completely new avenue for people to expand their brand. If you think about, as I said before, rock stars used to tour, and now it's like anybody can book a venue and create that. If you've got that community, and you're basically just going and visiting your fans in their own locations, which I think is really great. So again, it's this. We're just seeing an evolution of the podcast from listening to video, and video was a big jump, right? And there's still a way to go with that, with video. There's still a lot of podcasts that still just do audio. I love the video aspect of it because, as you said, you can see the reactions of people, and there's much more of a conversation that's to be had from that. But the idea of putting it on tour is just a fantastic way to build your brand much quicker, I think, as well. So for those people that as I said, like it's your time to shine. If you really want to shine, I think this is a great way to expand your brand.
Yeah, podcasting for so long was audio mostly. It had video, but in the last couple of years, we've heard so much about video. Yeah. And here I come, and with 6 stories about, I think once we get past video and people understand the power of connection, I think we're going to see live as really a big component of the podcast industry. And I've been coming here every week with 6 stories and all the branding and marketing and things that Ange is talking about. These 2 things start to cross paths. That's a very powerful tool to have in your toolbox, to be able to go live, talk in front of people, get a recording, and then distribute that to the world. So that repurposing that Ange was talking about earlier, multiplying your voice, getting it recorded and meeting people face to face, and then you have this asset that you can distribute to the rest of the world.
Yeah. And I think also it's one of the things that's coming out of this as well is just being yourself, being authentic. Although you're putting on a show in terms of it being on tour, these events are just very human, and the people are just being authentic with who they are. And I think that's the key today, is just be authentic. Don't put on a show, just show who you are. And people just love people being themselves. Warts are all mistakes and all. This is what people love. It's just being part of the event themselves, being part of the community, taking people as just humans and building relationships from that. So I think that's definitely the way to go. So I think as well, if you're feeling that this is something you want to do and you're thinking of doing a podcast, things like that, then I would say that the idea that you just be authentic and just be you, it's like a freedom ticket. It's like you're giving yourself the freedom to just go and do what you want to do. And that's what I'm all about, and encouraging people in their next chapter of life is just be you.
That's the only person you have to be on stage. That's the only person the audience expects of you, is to just be you. And the more you are you and not a character or a persona, the more people will relate to you off stage and really connect with you in a way that just wouldn't happen in any other way. Just, show up as you. You are more than enough to entertain the audience. So
yes.
You be you. And Ange, this has been so much fun. I didn't warn you before. It goes really fast. All of it. We did a half an hour already. And I like to do one thing before we go. I like to turn the stage back over to you. You can plug, promote, talk about anything you'd like. Ange, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right. So I'm a personal brand expert, so I help people to build their personal brand. And I do have a quiz that's on my website, and it's really on it's angedove.com/scorecard. So you can go there and take a quiz and just find out where the gaps are in your brand that you would need to fill. And then if you're open to working with me after that, then I can help you to build that brand.
Awesome. I'll have those links in the show notes. Ange, do you remember what time it was?
It was 7:77.
What time is it?